This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Welcome everybody to the public meeting for the Easthampton School Committee. We are going to begin with a regular session and a brief 20 to 30 minute agenda. We are then going to move into our public hearing for our budget for FY27. So we're going to kick off by roll calling in. Mayor Salem Derby actually has a conflict. There's currently a Rules and Regulations Subcommittee meeting taking place downstairs. He needs to attend that. So we will miss his presence with us. But as we roll out our budget hearing, please understand that the mayor has broken from recent tradition and has joined us in every single one of our Finance Subcommittee meetings this season. So he is really well versed in what it is that we're proposing tonight. So we're going to move on. Bonnie Atkins.
Present.
Eric Guyette.
Here.
Megan Harvey.
Here.
Sam Hunter.
Here.
Linda Marquis.
Here.
And Laura Scott present. We are going to move on to the finance consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the school payroll dated March 19th, 2026 in the amount of $698,358.29. And additionally, a motion to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated March 19th, 2026 in the amount of $378,777.01.
So moved.
Thank you, Sam. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Linda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Thank you, Eric. Motion carries.
And I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 10th, 2026 meeting.
So moved.
Tave you, Sam.
Sorry.
Can I have it? That's okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Linda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Move on to announcements, Eric.
We have no announcements for gifts, but we do have Walter Baker back with us with some information.
Hello, Walter.
So last Thursday, the Easthampton High School and the Student Council hosted our first mobile polar plunge with the Special Olympics of Massachusetts. They came and brought this like huge 30-foot water tank to the school and parked it in the front row of the parking lot. And we had like, I don't even know how many, like 70 people signed up to plunge, and they went in the water. And I think most of the entire student body was outside watching, so that was pretty great. And then, I'm not sure if this was shared last time, but we were also recognized at the Massachusetts Association of Student Council State Conference at the beginning of the month for being the second highest fundraiser for Special Olympics in the state, with over $15,000 raised. We also recognized our top individual fundraiser from Easthampton High School's Mobile Polar Plunge, who is actually representing the Unified Bocce team and Miss Smith's Life Skill Program. That was Cole Fitzgibbon, and he raised $860 alone for the cause. We have a kids' night out this week, April 10th from 6 to 9. Last time at our kids' night out, we had almost 100 kids. I think there was 97 there. And so we are really asking that anybody who plans on attending pre-registers their kids online, and you can sign up for the to be added to the email list. And we send out emails like a week or 2 weeks in advance with the link to sign up for that. And all payments are cash or check at the door. The online is just really to reserve your spot. And then on April 10th, we are going to have a pep rally that's designed to like celebrate the launch of our unified basketball program in the fall. And so we'll be working with the athletic director and the life skills teacher to get that going.
That's awesome.
I asked Walter to speed through that, which is why he was at 2.0, in case anybody's wondering. Thank you, Walter. Appreciate you. No, we did not make a conscious decision. I don't know which remotes control it. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Hey.
For the kids' night out? Yeah, I heard an April 10th mentioned twice. Thank
Did
you.
I?
So that's okay.
Oh.
So,
March 27th.
but the next
Okay.
kids' night out, you said is this week, So it's not
This
April
week.
10th.
Did I say April 10th? It's March 27th.
It's because I told you to go so fast.
Yeah.
I
April
did
10th
this
is the
before.
pep rally.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. All right, I'm going to do things a little bit out of order. We're going to skip to the new business out-of-state field trip request because perhaps we have some interested parties attending who'd like to hear how this turns out. EHS is requesting permission for David Beauregard and the EHS Student Council to attend the 2026 Vision National Conference for Student Council Leaders being held at Pinkerton Academy in Derry, New Hampshire. The conference is being held June 22nd through June 24th. The student council members will engage with student council leaders from across the country for the purpose of participating in hands-on leadership workshops, team building activities, and collaboration to strengthen student voice and school culture. Funding will be the student activities account and additional fundraising. I will entertain a motion to approve the out-of-state field trip request from EHS for the EHS Student Council to attend the 2026 Vision National Conference in Derry, New Hampshire from June 21 to the 24th.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Linda. Does anyone have questions or comments before we vote?
It sounds awesome.
Have fun.
Sounds great. You going?
Yep.
Wonderful.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, we would invite public comment. If anyone joining us tonight or joining us remotely has thoughts they would like to share, now is the time to do so by either stepping to the podium or raising your virtual hand. Seeing none, that was a fake out. Thank you, Silas. Seeing none, we are going to close public comment and move on to our district showcase. Would you like to introduce them?
All right, this evening we have Amy Paulus representing EHS, and we have some amazing, talented entertainers here from EHS and MBS.
Do we need a minute? Because I can do one other thing first.
It would be great if you did art.
Yep.
Annie has not arrived.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears and go quickly to our superintendent goal update.
All right, great. If you look at, we had our our budget presentation earlier this month, and you'll hear from us about the budget later on. Focusing on goal 1, we're in the middle of our school improvement planning process, and Dr. Pasquini Torchia will be presenting the school improvement goals at our upcoming school council meeting. At our next school committee meeting, we're going to talk a little bit about this tonight. I will give you a brief highlight of some of the things that we're anticipating changing at the middle school. We took a look at data collected throughout the year, student voice, parent, our listening sessions, our assessment data, teacher feedback, and we have a proposal that we're really excited about, and it's part of the strategic planning process, but I think it will fundamentally shift instructional practices and the way we operate our middle school. So very much looking forward to that work. But again, I think it just highlights the strategic data planning and making decisions that are student-centered based on data. So just really wanted to highlight that, and more to come at our upcoming school committee meeting. The second goal, we have our first strategic planning committee meeting on March 31st. We have about 25 people. We were gonna do a lottery and pick individuals, but I thought, you know what, the more voices we can have in this process, that people committed and willing to share, bring them all in. So we decided to welcome everybody to the table. A great cross-cutting group of teachers, administrators, students, and community members are participating. So we're we've decided to shift from a strategic planning process to sort of a district improvement strategy, because the strategic planning process is very cumbersome. We need to get something sort of on the ground and moving for next year. And we'll refine those every year, because I think it makes it more adaptable and action oriented if you do it that way. So that's something that I took from my NISIP planning group. So that's the way we're going to move forward with that. We're still working on our parent square. We're getting some feedback around the frequency of our posts, and we're trying to find the sweet spot for that right now. Assistant principal update, we hired 2 new assistant principals for Mountain View. We have Alex Friedman, who's coming to us from Duggan Academy in Springfield, and Rachel Breton, who has been a long-time EPSG teacher. So we're really excited for that. And the last sort of part of that is we've posted for a Dean of Students position that is a student-centered, a family-focused position that will help cultivate student culture, really kind of, the person, the initial responder to help strengthen our MTSS process. I'm really excited about that. That position is posted now. We've done a lot of work around our bullying policy and procedures. We received feedback from the MVS School Council and the EHS School Council. The members of those teams spent a lot of time digging into our policy to help us refine it. They gave us extensive feedback. We are very grateful. It'll be posted on the website tomorrow for public comment. We'd also like to receive additional feedback on our draft before, we propose it to the school committee. So really excited about that. It'll be a 2-year plan, but it has extensive revisions this time. And just a quick note about a partnership expansion. We were able to have Head Start come and tour. They toured both EHS and MVS, and we have plans in place to launch Head Start in our school, welcome them back into our schools for 27-28 at MVS.
Oh my God.
Yeah, thank you.
That's so exciting.
We're very, very excited about that, and so are they.
Yes.
It was such a great meeting. We also are in the final stages of approval for the preschool itinerant grant. So that'll help us, really bring in some money to help make this the best partnership it could be and to strengthen those services and support for our earliest learners. So we're super excited about that. And
Touch every kid we can.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll give a little bit more on that, but I think there's some really great opportunities to take Head Start programming and what we have at currently at MVS, so allowing more full day spots for families.
Right.
So very, very excited about that work. So thank you to Sam and Bonnie for bringing that, sort of back up for us. Appreciate it.
So that was a fire hose.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Like one of these updates would be like, wow, that's really
Work of
great.
a year, right?
And it's been 2 weeks in this fire
What's our
hose.
Annie update?
Annie's here.
She's
Yay!
Okay.
All right.
I see her.
So I'm going to briefly just say, do we have a policy update tonight, Sam?
We don't.
Okay, and finance?
Such a big one, but I'm gonna let them take it.
You're about to see it in the budget hearing. And CES, you want to give me the TLDR on CES?
CES, the TLDR is that we have a new
Too long, didn't read.
interim
Too long,
executive
didn't read.
director at CES to take over until July 22nd.
You
which
may
is
have
when
heard of this
Portia Bonner is
individual.
taking over. You're stealing my fire here. We are very lucky to have our former interim superintendent, Maureen Binienda, taking over as the interim executive director at CES. She's super excited. She's been on the job since Monday. We have a meeting tomorrow night, which will be her first meeting that she's attending, and her whole, she's got a whole plan for how to kind of pave the way for Dr. Bonner to take over in the middle of the summer. And I think I'm very excited. It kind of worked out as well as it possibly could.
She called me a few days ago. Larry, you're not going to believe it.
Yes, well, she's also, actually, good segue, she's planning on coming to see Annie now that she'll be back in the area. So we were just making plans for that the other day, so.
Great.
Very cool.
So incredible.
I know.
Okay, so we are now going to get back to the highlight of this evening. Sorry to all the work that went into the budget book, but how can we compete with you?
We can't.
Tough act to follow.
So back to our district showcase and our EHS and MVS students giving us a little preview of their Annie performance that kicks off next month. April 9, is that the first day? Thursday, April 9, runs Thursday, Friday, Saturday with a matinee on Sunday.
Yes.
And we very much appreciate you doing a little showcase for the MVS students. Thank you so much. That means a lot, and I think they really appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good for everybody.
Yeah, true.
All right. You're in this
I'm so excited.
This is where you're going to be.
Table.
So
Do you want me to get tissues now?
I'm just ready to take a picture of
You're doing
them.
great. Yeah, you cry all you want.
it doesn't
Sun
really
will come out.
matter.
And also I'll cry.
Can't wait. What scene is this? I want Newsies picture.
That's such a good one. I love Newsies.
You might have some influence over there.
That is a touch screen, so be careful. Yeah, that's a sneaky one.
We can get you another chair.
I think standing might be part of it.
Okay, sorry.
I will give you all the information. I have something short to say
No, that's
for a
fine.
moment.
You're the talent.
We're just making Caleb not have a chair. Okay. Good evening, school committee, Superintendent Bulk, and members of the Easthampton community. Thank you for having the EHS Drama join you for your meeting this evening. My name is Amy Paulus, and I'm the EHS Drama Advisor and Art Teacher at Easthampton High School. I have with me a group of students who are part of our upcoming production of Annie. We are very excited to be opening this show in just over 2 weeks on Thursday, April 9th. Thank you. I would like to thank you, school committee, for all of your support of our program over the years. As we navigate through these tricky times, please remember that while cuts to the arts are often some of the first to be made, that we provide consistent, authentic opportunities for student presentation and performance. We have more than 60 EHS students involved in Annie, as well as 12 Mountain View School students. They own this production. They work hard because they want to, and they are proud of it. They are proud of the time and energy that they put into the production, both on stage and behind the scenes. I would like to introduce you to some of the cast of Annie as they present a small excerpt of our show. At this point in the story, Annie and billionaire Oliver Warbucks are joining President Franklin Delano Roosevelt during a cabinet meeting as they strategize how to pull the country out of the Great Depression.
Now, Oliver, since you speak for those few happy Americans who have any money left, I'd like to start with your views on this matter.
Well, Mr. President, in the words of Calvin Coolidge,
the business of this country is business.
Right! And yes, for the good of you, me, Wall Street, and just the country, we've got to get my factories open and the workers back to work.
According to my latest figures, there are now 15 million Americans out of work and nearly 50 million with no visible means of support.
Mr. President, if I may, unemployment is not our biggest problem. The dispatches from Germany are getting more and more disturbing by day. There could be war.
Germany, hell! People are starving in this country.
Harold, I know that, but in the long run, you have to understand.
There are no long run for people who are starving.
The trouble is it's all happening at once. The stock market's taking another nosedive.
Sit-down strikes, riots, floods, dust storms.
And the FBI still hasn't caught Al Capone. At least we can all agree on one thing. The situation is hopeless and getting worse.
Henry, I'd like to see those figures.
The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar tomorrow.
Quiet, little
Harold! No, it's all right, dear. What were you going to say? This is a free country, after all.
Sun will come out. I'm sorry. Just thinking about tomorrow. Clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, I just think of my chin and grin and say, oh, the sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you tomorrow, you're always a day away.
Harold, stand up.
What?
You heard me. Stand up. Up, up, up. Now, Harold, sing.
Sing?
Yes, sing, like Annie. I've decided my favorite animation is going to be anything. It's going to be optimistic about the future. So sing.
But really, Franklin, you know that
Sing.
the sun will come out
Louder, Harold.
tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow
Perkins.
there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow. Till there's no.
So long for the present, when I'm stuck with that day, that's gray and lonely. I just stick out my chin.
Excuse me, it's up my
chin and grin and say, everybody, Republicans do honor sing. Tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love ya. Tomorrow, you're always a day away. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love ya. Tomorrow, you're always a day.
I'm so excited.
I cannot
Wicked
wait.
stoked.
Alex, you're sick. That was amazing, y'all.
That was great.
Are you pumped? Are you ready? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Nervous.
We still have 2 weeks.
I know, but I mean,
A lot can happen in 2 weeks.
A lot will happen in 2
It's
weeks.
gonna be a great show. They're
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be great.
so funny.
I cannot wait.
I can tell it's gonna be funny. It was so cool.
Yes, it was great.
All right, take your bow, right?
Yes.
We need a bow and a picture?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yes. For the record.
He's in character.
That's not how you bow. You're all supposed to, whatever.
Y'all are incredible. Thank you so much.
We cannot wait for the show.
So
Thank
pumped.
you.
I don't know what that does.
That was so good.
Okay, our next meeting dates will be April 14th and April 28th. And with that, we are going to open the public hearing on the fiscal year 2027 proposed budget. With a song, Julia, question mark?
That was good.
Hey, here goes.
Yes, we lured everybody here with the musical performance, and now they all have to listen to the numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Do we know who the gent in the back is?
Yeah.
Oh, is it her? Okay.
Oh, do you want me like side by side?
All right. Good evening, school committee members. Very delighted to present our 27 operating budget to all of you this evening. Julia, Franks, myself, and the entire district is very grateful for your time, attention, and all of the work that was spent in subcommittee meetings and really asking important questions and helping us to, create a budget that we think is both fiscally responsible and reflective of the work that we need to do moving ahead. So you can find more detailed information about our budget. We're excited that we have launched ClearGov, a new platform for our district budget book. It is interactive. You can search. It's exportable. Everybody has access. It's not something that you have to, download and, or come here to take a look at. It is what we, would call very clear and transparent. So we're excited about those shifts to the budget process. And when you can click on this link, it is also on our website as well. We designed the platform and we implemented the platform to increase transparency reporting, and it allows it to both be searchable and translatable into multiple languages. We've worked very strategically on our mission and vision throughout the year from listening sessions. We refined our previous mission and vision to really center it around student experience, student voice, belonging, and instruction, which kind of leads us to our core values.
Can we just direct the public who may either watch this later or following along now, just to tell them they can locate that link and follow along with us in that budget book? It's right on the district website.
It is, yes, on the school committee page.
Yep.
It is there as well. Okay. Our core values, based on all of the, our surveys, our listening sessions, and our feedback, we settled on these core values this year, and really proud of that work. And, our budget represents our core values. So when we're publishing a budget and we're taking a look at our budgetary decisions, it has to align with our core values. And I think that is something you will see throughout our budget presentation this evening. It is our values while also being fiscally responsible as well. We introduced the district snapshot last year, and here it is for this year. And we're going to talk a little bit about those changes for 27 in just a bit. We have 1340 learners. We still have a 11-to-1 teacher to student ratio, 9-time We the People champions. And then we have some of our, just student demographic information there. And there was a question about the students with disabilities. Last year we were at 31.6, and this year we are at 29. And just taking a look at, why, there was a decrease. We took a look at some data, and since the beginning of the school year, we've had 22 students enter Easthampton Public Schools. So this data is of October 1st. So since October 1st, we've had 22 students enter the school with IEPs. So that number will probably level out. So we saw our 12th grade students exit, dropped in numbers, but when we have, new incoming students with our churn, we saw students with 22 students enter there. We also, our Smith vocational program, our students with IEPs, they actually, they exit Easthampton Public Schools. So that is part of the reason as well. And we also had some students during their 3-year reevaluation process no longer qualified, and that speaks to our strengthening our MTSS process. So just wanted to talk a little bit about that sort of dip, and it's a little bit different than the trend that we see across the state. We were asked to present a level service budget, and just, quickly, what is that? It means that we don't add anything new to our budget. We are creating a budget that simply maintains what we have in place and what families can expect. Even, with doing a level service budget, there are unanticipated cost increase that we see. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Julia will go into detail about where those increases were and how they impacted the budget, things like transportation, special education tuition costs. But I think, what it excites me about that is the opportunity for innovation to occur. And, as I stepped into this role, and I, again, remember at my interview, we talked a lot about being innovative and thinking about the system. And I think that budget is reflective of, the innovative decisions that we're making as a leadership team and with educators and with the community and students. the budget is designed to do three things. Sustain level services that the students and families rely on. So really important part, right? We committed to the families of this community to do certain things, and this budget allows us to maintain what we expected and what our kids deserve in the district. And to really manage those rising costs responsibly. So, we proposed in the beginning some new asks, and, just taking a look at the numbers, we thought, we had to, be innovative in how we reallocate positions, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And this, these were done strategically to help us meet our long-term priorities. So we are definitely thinking about, what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years with any decision that we're making in our budget. Yes.
All right. First off, I just really want to thank everybody who was involved in the budget development process. I've been here just over a year, and when I stepped in last year, most of this process had been completed already. So this was really my first rodeo doing that with the Easthampton Public Schools community. And everybody was really great about answering questions, about me deciphering information. So I just really wanted to thank everybody that was involved in that budget process. Everybody from the city auditor to the mayor's office to the finance committee, to the principals, directors, So the budget building process really is a team effort. So even though Michelle and I are the ones standing here, we're just the ones who have put together all of this information and all the hard work that's done by a lot of other people. To give you a little bit of an idea of the budget process, for us, the budget process usually starts mid-fall, where we start having conversations like once school is open and things have settled in, like the minute kids start the school year, we immediately start thinking about the next school year. So in that fall, we start having conversations with district leadership, with school leaders, with the leadership team, with principals, with directors, about what are we doing now? What do we anticipate our needs are in the future? And we start having those conversations. So especially with Michelle developing her entry plan and getting to know the district, starts developing ideas of sort of where do we want to go from here, So those conversations start really early in the fall. By midwinter, we're crunching numbers. We're looking at what's happened in the prior year, what's happening in the current year, and anticipating what's happening in the next year. So business managers like me often live in 3 fiscal years at a time. I'm looking at the past, I'm managing what's going on currently, and I'm looking at the future. And we're using all of that information to really make data-informed decisions about what's best for students and families in our district. Okay. And then by early spring, by now, we've compiled all of that information. We've made decisions, sometimes tough decisions, but strategic decisions to continue to provide services for our families and our students. So major cost drivers in the FY27 budget. Surprising nobody, this slide is very, very similar to the slide in last year's budget presentation because a lot of the circumstances that are driving our budget are the same. FY27 is year 3 of our current collective bargaining agreements that in a lot of our bargaining agreements had the largest increase. So about $736,000 of our increase is in personnel cost increases just for our employees that are covered by our collective bargaining agreements. In FY27, 62.58% of our Easthampton Education Association teachers will be in the top 3 steps of their lane. Okay. That means that we have a very highly qualified teaching staff. We have a lot of teaching staff that have been here for a long time, and that says great things about our district, that we have longevity in our teaching staff, and when people come to work for us, they generally tend to stay around, That's great for our students, it provides stability, But there's a cost to that, And that's something that is reflected in our budget. Also in FY27, we've added a new lane in the teacher salary scale. There's now a master's plus 6-year doctoral lane that we have several staff members that are moving into, Which is great to recognize the hard work that they've done, But that is an impact that we need to be aware of as we're prepping the budget. Chapter 70 funding, is fairly flat. The state budget is still in the middle of its process, so we don't know where those numbers are going to land. But as of right now, our Chapter 70 increase from FY26 to FY27 is only $114,000, based on the governor's budget proposal. We won't know where that settles until it sort of winds its way through their process, But that's something we are keeping an eye on. LPVEC tuition increases, we assume is going to be about a 5% increase. They have not published their numbers yet, but that's a projection. Our out-of-district tuition, right, the rate set by OSD is 3% for those. Regular transportation increase is going to be 3%. We have a contract that I will be coming to you later on a vote to extend our contract for another year with them. Special education transportation, we need to negotiate a new contract, so we're anticipating a slightly higher increase because it will be a new contract year for that. And as I'm sure you are all hearing in the news, utility costs may be volatile, right, for the rest of the year, having to do with changes in the energy markets at the moment, right? So these are all costs that we do our best to predict, right, but can be unpredictable. So our proposed budget for FY27 includes a total of $24.9 million from the local appropriation. Our current year budget for FY26 is just shy of 22.8 million. So for our budget increase, that's a $2.1 million increase year over year, which represents a 9.54% increase. So just for the public's information, when we talk about the city appropriation, I just want to remind the public that that city appropriation includes a combination of state aid and money from local taxpayers. So baked into that 24.9 million is the Chapter 70 aid that we predict to be about 9.2 million, which means that the ask on the city budget from the city taxpayers is about 15.7 million, right? That our budget is not fully funded by the city because the state provides revenue to the city to fund our budget.
Can we put just an extra point on that, because this is often confusing for the public?
Yep.
That what Julia is saying is Chapter 70 is one revenue stream where the city qualifies for that money because of the school district, but it doesn't go directly to our coffers, it goes to the general city coffers first.
Right, and the idea is that cities use that as part of their budget to fund school operations.
Thank you for making that point, Julia.
Absolutely. Okay. So again, these our budget estimates are based on projections, on our assumptions of what is going to happen, right? And a lot of these are expenses that we don't have control over, right? So they're short from doing things like we're hearing about in other communities, doing cuts or layoffs or changing programming, right? This is the kind of increase that it costs to keep doing the things that we've been doing. Little bit of sort of history for you. Right, so the chart that's showing on the screen shows what our budget has been in the past 5 fiscal years and what we're projecting for the next year. Yet we see that there's sort of a spike in FY26 of our increase. And one thing to keep in mind is that FY26 was the first year that we haven't had any pandemic era funding left. Right? So in FY22, 23, 24, and 25, we had ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3, CVRF, right, the emergency connectivity funds, right? So there are lots of monies coming from the state and federal governments that districts use to support their budgets in FY22, 23, 24, and in some cases 25. And so a lot of districts were able to keep their asks pretty low in those years because they had other money that they could rely on to provide things. Right? And so FY26 is the first year that we didn't have any of that money that we could spend, and same thing with FY27. Right? You can see in FY27 that that number 9.54 is actually back towards what our ask was in FY25 and would have been what our asks were in 24 and 23 if we didn't have COVID funds. Right? Just to give you a little perspective, in FY22, we spent $937,000 of COVID funds. In 23, it was almost $800,000, and in FY24, it was $600,000. So if you add those monies into what we spent out of the general fund budget, the increases are put into perspective when you know that we had $2.4 million that we could spend in those 3 years to support school operations. So a lot of communities around us have been talking about how their staffing levels are changing in their budget process. And we've had a lot of tough conversations and thought really creatively about how to use the people we already have and how to keep the people that we have. And so what you see on this slide are the proposed staffing changes, right? So at Mountain View, right, we have 4 administrators currently at Mountain View. We have 3 retirements of principals there. We are consolidating those positions and moving to 3 administrators, right? 1 principal and 2 assistant principals, and then a dean of students position. We have an L para. We're going to be converting that position hopefully to an L teacher position. We're gonna reallocate 2 teaching positions within the current teaching staff there to add, right, some new subjects. Michelle will talk about this in a little bit. And then we had a special ed coordinator that was split between the high school and the middle school. Right, that position now, we did some shuffling, so you can see at the bottom line, we've added 0.2. It's because we had 2.5 positions that we've converted to 0.6 positions, which was what we had to do to make sure that those positions stayed benefit eligible so that people were willing to come and take those positions. And so as a district, I think Michelle and I are both really proud that we've been able to figure out a way to maintain all of our current teaching staff and all of our staff, because I know we've heard a lot of anxiety, right, from our staff and from neighboring communities about the budget process. So what you'll see on this screen is a summary of what we anticipate our operating budget for FY27 looking like, including all funding sources. So the first column, that local appropriation, is really what we are asking for from City Council as a department of the city. As a school department, we have several other sources of district generated revenue, right? So revenue that we bring in as a district to support our operations, including school choice, circuit breaker, food service, the athletic revolving account, bus revolving, and grants. So one of the first decisions that the finance subcommittee met was to look at our revenue from circuit breaker and school choice. Those are 2 pots of money that we have access to, and determined that we wanted to keep the offsets and the use of those funds the same from FY26 to FY27. So we're using those funding sources the same way next year that we have planned to use them this year, which we think is sort of fiscally responsible for us and allows us some cushion, right, to deal with unexpected expenses that may come up, right? So school choice revenue is brought in when students who reside in other communities choose to attend school in Easthampton Public Schools. Circuit breaker is a reimbursement program managed by DESE that provides reimbursement for eligible special education costs. So essentially we spend it in year 1, we get the money in year 2, and we can use that money in either year 2 or year 3. So the idea is
not every student qualifies, right? They have to meet a minimum threshold of costs.
Yes.
Volume. I'm not sure that there's any volume going to anyone. I'm getting some.
Oh, it's because Eric shut the mic off.
It's
not plugged in.
It's still recording on the Easthampton.
Also, why is that one? That one's on.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm not seeing Easthampton Media yelling at me. Maybe I am. Hold on. Nope, Tim from eMedia. Pardon me, just one moment. Can you please unmute the laptop on the table in front of you? I don't think folks at home can hear.
Can someone?
I think we're good. I just changed it.
Now that we've made that change.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Jean. It's Jean.
God bless Jean.
I think the very worst case scenario is that this gets recorded locally.
Yeah.
There's a backup.
There's a backup to the backup.
Yeah, there's.
So that you can go back and watch these for this first part.
We're not going to make you do the entire.
And we'll start from the beginning.
No.
Little tap dance, little jazz hands. No.
And the only additional person on the call is Jean, but that might be, did everybody else leave because there was no sound?
They sure did.
I wonder if that's
fine.
I did get a message from.
We never saw anybody else on you guys.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought it was, okay.
There were a couple of people, but not a huge, okay, it's fine.
I haven't heard back from her, I'll tell you.
Blame it on me.
Thank you,
All
Melina.
right.
My bad.
Carrying right along. So our food service program is completely self-funded now with a combination of reimbursements from the National School Lunch Program and the Universal Free Meals Program through the state. Right, so that program is run by proceeds from that program, right? So we do not actually budget anything to support our food service program. Our athletic revolving fund, right? They bring in money every year through ticket sales, donations, and student fees. And those funds are used to make sure that we can offer not just athletic events, but make sure that those athletic events are safe. Because every event that we host, we need to have officials, right? We need to have EMTs, we need to have security, we need to have, ambulances, right? Especially for our contact sports, right? And all of that can't be funded through student fees, right? So that's why we charge for tickets to see games, right? To continue supporting those programs. Our bus revolving fund, right, we have a fill the bus program here. And so if we have a bus that is going on the way to a school and isn't full, we allow families who don't qualify for free transportation to buy bus passes. And so the revenue from those bus passes we use to help pay part of the cost of busing.
Sorry, hold for a second. We still can't hear.
I just texted Tim what that error message says. Hello?
Microphone not found. This is perfect timing for the microphone to not be found. Were they able to hear the first part of our meeting?
No, I think, Eric, did you unplug and replug the USB?
I plugged everything in.
Okay, folks at home, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. Okay.
They can't hear
I
that.
plugged it into that. I plugged it into the TV.
Mime that there's a 5-minute recess.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Thanks everyone for fixing that. Thank you for letting us know.
Okay, everybody,
right
does anybody
where
need
we
to
were.
take a bathroom break? Are we good? We're good?
I think we're good.
Excellent, perfect, wonderful. Thanks everyone for hanging
He's
in.
gonna cut that out into.
Okay, welcome.
Now.
Welcome back to the public. We have fixed a plug that somebody kicked and unplugged. And so we are back with all the sound. Julia, sorry, Franks, take it away. Apologies for the interruption.
All right, the last column on this sheet is labeled grants. Please keep in mind that this amount does not include every grant that the district gets, because a lot of grants that we get are very specific. They're only for certain things. They're only for 1 year, right? So the grants that we include on this chart are grants where we are reasonably sure that we are going to get an award and we are going to continue to use it in the way that we've been using it. So the 2 grants that are in here are Title I grant that we use for reading intervention staff at MVS, and the IDEA special education grant that we use to fund out of district tuitions. Right, so because there's volatility in the administration, we don't know if we're going to get Title II, Title IV, and those things we use to provide professional development, to provide coaching, things like that. They're not required to keep our budget afloat, and therefore we don't reflect them in this dollar amount. In the budget book that is publicly available, there is more information about our grants. In that book, there's a list of all the grant awards that we've received so far in FY26 and what those grants are being used for. But again, we don't know year to year what grants are going to be made available either by the federal or the state government. So we don't count on those in our budgeting process. On this slide is a graphic that is included in the budget book. One of the things I'm really excited about the budget book is it has some very nice graphics that I think really help explain how our money is used in the district. So this graph, the different columns of it are what are called the DESE functional areas. So at the end of the year, I have to report out how every dollar is spent in the district in these cost categories that are identified by DESE. So the vast majority of our money is spent on what they call instructional costs, right? So that's everything from teachers to paraprofessionals to textbooks, materials, basically anything that winds up in a classroom is in that instructional category. Our second largest category is tuitions, and our third largest category is transportation. So 86.1% of our budget is spent on things that directly impact students every day. And so I like this graphic because I think it helps show, right, that we're trying our best to make sure that our resources are being used as efficiently as possible to provide resources directly to students in their classrooms. Right, the other categories reflected on here are operations and maintenance, administration, student services, and fixed costs, right? That represents about 14% of our budget. This next graphic is same budget numbers, but sorted into some different categories. So these are the same categories that I present to the school committee in our quarterly reports, right? Because I think you guys are sort of used to seeing those numbers. Right? So we see that 68% of our budget is on personnel, right? Most of our money goes towards providing people because that's what makes schools work. Everybody from our custodians to our clerical staff to our teachers to our paraprofessionals, everybody that is in our buildings is what makes our buildings successful. Right? So most of our budget goes towards personnel, and then tuition, transportation, everything else, and utilities. Right, so this is the same data, right, but in a different version again, right, to sort of see that really the bulk of our money is going towards people, and most of those people are providing services directly to students.
And I had mentioned a little bit about this, right? And, it's a little, we want to make sure that our budget represents our priorities. And, we are developing our district strategy for improvement. And that is sort of a work in progress. But one thing when I entered was abundantly clear that we had to really work on our middle school. And I think our budget represents that, the desire from both, our administrators, our leaders, and our community to make some changes to our middle school. And, that will be something that comes out in the strategic planning process. And so we're launching sort of a little bit of an insight into transforming the middle school experience, which will be one of our strategic priorities. So we're going to go much deeper into this at our next meeting. We're going to talk about the data that we collected and all the information that helped inform the decisions. But we have to talk a little bit about it because it has budgetary implications for us. So we highlighted some of those leadership changes. We thought really long and hard about what it looks like to bring the community together. When we're talking about MVS and we're talking about how do we create a cohesive school culture, that really resonated with me in some of the changes. So we did make those strategic structural changes and moving from a head of school, 3 principals, to a principal, 2 assistant principals, and a student-facing dean of student positions, which was some cost savings, which allowed us to do a couple of other things. And if we're really talking about strengthening the middle school experience, something I heard very loud and very clear from families and from students during our student summit was that they want world languages. And we are going to be posting a position. This is a reallocated position. So this is not a new position. This is a reallocation to offer Spanish for our middle school students. We're taking a look at, what does it mean to be college and career ready and what experiences do kids need at our middle school? It is the experience of a world language. We have visions for expansion of world languages in the future, which I'm excited about, but for this upcoming year, that is an allocation. And then we're going to be reallocating a position from middle school. We have a middle school STEAM teacher, but the STEAM teacher is spread kind of thin. She is teaching some 3rd grade, 5th grade. We alternate so everybody gets a little STEM experience, but we know that we need project-based, engaging, hands-on, real-world application for our students. So we are going to have a dedicated middle school STEAM teacher and a dedicated elementary STEAM teacher. It's very important for our students to get, more arts experience, more hands-on. And again, these are reallocated positions. So we looked at our numbers. We're not, trying to overload our numbers in our classrooms, but we found some areas where we could shift some educators. We took a look at, I'm really excited about this. Department of Elementary and Secondary Education came out with their vision of a graduate. And what they also did is they are putting out some recommendations for graduation. And we took a look at those and we said, okay, we know what the expectation is for us, right? Our EGLES and our learning expectations, and how do they mirror what we know to be true or recommendations from DESE about what kids need to have in order to graduate. And again, these are recommendations at the time, but it is based on research, it is based on best practices, and whether the state decides to make them graduation requirements, we know that these experiences are what our kids need for college and career. So this is a little bit hard to read, but there is what happens in our coursework, how they demonstrate mastery of what they know. And in this third sort of maroon bucket is prepared for what's next and looking at prepared for college, career, and civic readiness, which launches us into what we're calling our Compass Lab. And this is our innovation for middle school change. And we are so excited to be launching this. We're going to just call it, exactly. We will, when we launch it to students, it will, we're going to work this a little bit, but digital literacy lab for kids. And what is that? And when we present this more fully at our upcoming meeting, we're going to have a syllabus for you to take a look at, because I think that's really important. This isn't to teach kids how to use technology. The purpose of this class is to how to conduct research, right? How to know it is authentic, how to be a good digital citizen. What does your digital footprint look like? What is an algorithm? And why does it show up on your page? And how do you, what marketing are you getting, and how to be critical consumers? Because that is very civic focused. All of these courses are really geared towards civic engagement, because we need that more now than ever. For 7th grade, they're going to be taking a course, and these are core courses where students will be graded for their work. These aren't elective, these are core, because at its core, it is what our kids need. They're in our Massachusetts state frameworks. We're focusing on going deeper into our curriculum frameworks. And what does financial literacy mean, right? Kids need to understand how to make, those real life decisions. What is credit? How to save their money? How to make your money work for you? Why do prices go up? What is supply and demand? What does that mean for a student? And how do you make decisions based on needs and wants? And we heard this time and time again, not only from our community, but from our students as well. That student summit that we had was so powerful. And I think it's so important that we prepare kids for their future, and so they can make wise decisions. And this will help them in college, career, and life. And we know that this starts in middle school. We can't just start everything in 9th grade. We need to prepare them for high school, and these are the tools. Civics Lab. We're going to have students they do right now the Civic Action Project, but what it does is they kind of, they pause social studies right now, and they do the Civic Action Project. But it is such a powerful capstone project for students. They investigate sort of an issue that's happening within the community, and then they advocate for change. But imagine that spread over the course of a year. Imagine they're learning about what ranked choice voting means in Easthampton. Imagine they're looking at Easthampton data and the power and harnessing their voice. And this is all to prepare them for high school. We have a very powerful We the People civics program at the high school. How are we preparing our students for that? So these are 3 core courses that are going to be embedded. Every student will have access to them. You don't choose to go into them. They're going to be hands-on. They're going to be real world. And we are excited, so excited for this to happen in our school. And we'll talk more about this in our next meeting. But I wanted to give you a little sense of what we are doing within our existing budget for innovative practices. All right. That is our budget presentation. Wanted to give you a little sprinkle about what's more to come.
Heard that part.
Okay.
So good. We're just blown away.
Sam, did you get that part about you get the compass let? Do you want me to take a photo and send that to you? Excellent, thank you.
Don't take a picture.
And we're gonna dive in even deeper at our next April.
At our next meeting. And I did want to say, thank you all so much for your support on the budget. Julia talked a little bit about how, this was truly a process, but, and we tried to engage everyone in the process. We've been talking to the middle school. We've been talking at our Mountain View Elementary leadership team. These are things we're really excited for, and that the district is committed to doing. So there is no hesitancy here. I think everybody is excited for the change, and I'm so excited to lead it and very grateful for your support on all of this, because it is what we truly believe our students deserve. And, I'm ready to produce some data to show that this is what our kids need.
Anybody have questions? Sam, do you want to start?
Sure, I have a few questions.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm super excited about the middle school vision, and I'm really glad that I've heard little bits and pieces of it, and I'm just so excited to start really putting it together and really kind of seeing what this is going to look like. And as somebody I've been involved in one way or another in the schools for the last 10, 12 years now, and it's just really amazing to see the ship kind of slowly turning in that time. And It's just like giving me chills. Like stick with tough stuff is, I guess, my message to everybody, because it's worth it. I have a question. So I appreciate first of all, I hadn't realized until you showed the chart with the previous increases. This is like our third consecutive year with almost a 10% increase. I'm really concerned. Our employees got hit hard with that health insurance increase earlier this year. To what extent are we considering that in this budget, or can we just not really do that? Because I don't, there's kind of a lot of speculation about health insurance in particular right now, and kind of how that might affect our.
So the health insurance costs for all city employees, including school department employees, are housed in the city budget.
Okay.
Right, so I'm sure this is a discussion that's gonna come up with the city finance committee.
Okay.
Right, I'm sure it's conversations that the mayor is having with the HR director, right, with department directors, but the only like benefit that is in our budget is a line item for what we pay for Medicaid processing.
Okay.
And for our student accident insurance related to athletics. Right?
Okay.
All of their employee benefits are in the city budget.
That will affect the city side, but it won't affect our budget directly.
Not directly.
Unless something happens and the city can't put as much money into the schools.
We're in the third year of a contract.
Yep.
We're going to begin negotiations at the end of this year. And I will absolutely be the elephant in the room, sitting right in the middle of the room.
Yep.
So that everybody's going to be working on.
That's helpful. I appreciate that.
Well, and it's knowing that is weighing heavy on the city in terms of looking at their budget, because they have to balance their budget across all departments, including our department, which is why we said we need to try to accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish without asking for ads. So how can we do that, knowing that, the city is going to be dealing with that issue?
Yeah.
Yep.
Can I add one thing on? Because I had a note about the historical budget increases. So that's the past 5 years, and we've worked. I've been present for what, 4 of them? Not quite all of them. Okay. Maybe all. I don't know. Yeah. Time is funny, but we worked incredibly hard to get to the point where we were brave enough to even ask for that. And if you go back 10 and 15 years,
you can see 0% increases.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah,
0% increases.
I mean, it's not that we're always playing catch up on that, but just the trajectory in this district of investing in over and over and over again in level services, it's just really heartening to see, particularly in this climate, in any climate.
And the last piece of that was the third year of the contract, where we were trying to pull the last of our staff groups up to being competitive with our neighboring districts and find a way to try to maintain and protect that without over-promising and then having to revert to reductions in force, which are not only terrible for morale, but also end up costing the city and the school department more money in the long run.
And also has a really direct impact on the students too.
All of it.
It's
all of it. That's your recipe for starting the
I have one more,
of course.
I have another question about Spanish. So which is super exciting. I love starting Spanish in the middle school. Again, I remember talking about this 10 years ago. So this is huge and really exciting. Is that going to potentially change the readiness that our 9th graders have for high school Spanish?
Yes.
So they'll be starting at a higher level.
It will still be an elective, so they'll still have to start high school with the intro to Spanish. However, we will be able to accelerate the curriculum because students have experience.
Okay, cool.
So, when we're thinking about, offering AP courses, what does that look like? So we will be able, that intro course can get a little bit deeper.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is great. That is really
And then
exciting.
just students, a large percentage of our high school students aren't scoring ideally where we'd like them to be, especially as they, so if their base understanding of let's just say vocabulary, if you spend 2 years alone in middle school level learning vocabulary, that's already a foundation. You don't have to spend until, April just getting your basic vocabulary. You can move right into verb conjugation and complex language.
That's super cool. I'm very excited about that.
I mean, I'm excited for thinking about the future for languages for the district.
And I would like to enroll my father in the digital literacy lab. I think that is something that.
Maybe we'll partner with the ECOA.
I was thinking, I was like, is there a way that we can like build on that in some capacity? Maybe not this year, but like these are skills that I think everybody needs, and they're skills that have changed in the last 10, 20 years.
So we teach these kids and then we send them to the ECOA.
Yeah, they come home and teach us.
That's right.
Which is how it's supposed to work. So,
yes.
Well, I appreciate all the work that you all have done, and I really recommend to the public, if you please read the whole budget book, like it's actually really readable and accessible, and I learned a lot that was very easy to kind of take in, and I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this.
Thanks,
yeah,
Sam.
it's exciting.
Linda, do you have anything? No. Master Guy?
I don't have questions. I just appreciate the creativity. I think especially with the administration and the structure of it at the middle school and elementary school combined, I think it's going to make a huge difference, and it allows you to allocate those funds to these types of things that we can do without having to ask for a lot more money.
Can I get your personal take on the middle school proposal, being that you're a middle school teacher in your real life?
I have a fourth grader who's going into, I think, the civics part, and I think when you talk to families or when you hear about people talking about public school all the time, it's like, even where I work in the district, it's constantly real life applications. How can we make this? Right. What's the how and the why? Why are we learning this? Why do we need this? And so kind of always connecting it to elements of future life makes kids buy into it, especially, and historically, when you get into middle school, 6th grade is the drop off where when you're in elementary school, you just want to make your teachers happy, and then when you get to middle school and you're just constantly peer oriented, you're just worried about your peers and the education part. If you think back, any adult thinks back of middle school memories, it's all peer related stuff, it's not the academics. But if you make the academics this type of academic where they are connecting to real life things and understanding what's going on, and kids today have more access to the news and what's happening around them, and take all these different factors, then they'll buy into it, and then they'll come up with projects, and it'll just grow from here. But this is an awesome base to start with.
Yeah, I'm thinking, what can we do, right, in the financial literacy piece, like stock market challenging, partner with junior achievement and our local banks, and how do we get everybody a checking account, and how do we really, thinking and, making college career life decisions, right? How, what is the right path for you?
Like a super nerdy deep dive on this, like the last time we had a nationwide heavy investment in public education was post-World War II in the early 1950s. And at that time, they reinvented public school curriculum to include things like keyboarding, sewing, home economics, auto shop. They asked themselves these same series of questions, like what are kids coming out of high school? What are the skills they're lacking? What are these real life skills that we need to start bringing? We haven't gone back and reflected in that way in 70 years.
Yeah.
And this is so exciting that like everybody has been talking about this, and yet nobody is really pulling the trigger. And with this leadership, it's like we're finally that, like we've been talking in circles about this for a decade in this district.
And I think, like you said, most schools, they dip their toe into this in the year. They do some type of economical, we're going to make a food truck, we're going to do a stock market thing. Right. And it's a 2-week thing, and then it's back to the curriculum that they're doing before. And so this is not just a dip, this is immersion into all of these.
Or it's not thoughtfully planned for, and so it can't sustain. It'll be the first thing getting cut the next year when things are a little tight, or, yeah.
And if I'm taking 15 minutes from ELA and math, right, I need to have a course that teaches, rigorous, standards aligned instruction.
And is practicing those ELA and math skills.
Reinforcing.
In real world applications.
Absolutely. And, in the middle school presentation, we'll talk about the standards that are going to be embedded and taught into the courses, and they will support ELA. Humanities, so the digital literacy standards.
And just last, the wisdom in this also is I think that we look at our We the People program and we're spoiled to think that it's just regular, like we just win championships, but to understand and have the know-how to say we need to start building foundation lower than that, because if we get these kids psyched up and we get them into this civics, they're going to be even more prepared, which is, I can't even think about more prepared, but I also think about, Kelly Brown, she's not going to be there forever. So it's like building this foundation before, although if she could stay for another 6 years, my son's in 4th grade. That would be
plug for Kelly Brown.
But I think it's just a smart thinking ahead with not just what you have, but what do we have and how can we now start to build backwards
right.
to get
Yeah.
it so that we continue and sustain it?
Which is also building it forward, because then all of these kids are better prepared for post-high school graduation.
I actually did have that question when you were presenting that. Are we prepared to expand We the People in the high school at some point, perhaps? I mean, a team a certain size, or to
to offer, so I mean, we'll have to see
something.
if it demands more than one class.
Let me finish, yeah. Just because I anticipate that we're gonna get a lot of kids who are now a lot more interested in that. They, a lot more, and so just that, I feel, is gonna flow on up into the high school.
Yeah.
And that was my thought when you were doing that. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get a lot of kids that are ready for this now.
It's a good thing Kelly Brown has been recruiting apprentices for the past couple of years. You have one, and then we'll get to Megan.
Well, I already went, so you can go, Megan.
Okay.
Go ahead, it's fine.
Well, so I also took some notes on the budget book that I was going to ask about. So one of the questions one of the things that I noticed through reading through the budget is that, and I think this is true in many districts, but in our district especially, our administrative structure and like our central office structure is like very, very thin. We don't have any extra, I looked at like our IT department, and it's like 3 people who do IT for the whole district, and I know like when I lose my password to my Easthampton school committee account, I have to like call Justin, and like it's hard to get him because he's busy resetting everybody else's passwords. So this is and he's great, and I appreciate it, but like it's
We are lean.
So
no redundancies.
Yeah, I just want to point out, like, you see a lot of like, especially online, people will say like, oh, cut the fat, like, cut it. There's nothing, guys. Like it's been like, we're really, so I appreciate everything that everybody who works here does, and I just wanted the public to realize like a very thin structure of folks kind of at the central office level.
Can I?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you pointing that out. So this is the 5th school district that I've worked in my 21 years in education. And this is probably the leanest, meanest central office staff I've seen.
Yeah.
And knowing that and knowing the big things that both Michelle and I want to accomplish, and not having the people to do it, because people are so expensive, right? That's why I said, okay, ClearGov, let's implement this software. It costs $10,000, which sounds like a lot, but the number of hours and labor time that saved, that then gives us time to do these other projects, to tackle other things. Like, I think that's what's gonna help move the district forward. And knowing that, so we're looking at every cost, we're looking at every line item. I mean, the finance subcommittee has heard this already, but we renegotiated our copier contract, right? And we are saving $80,000 over the next 5 years.
All right.
Well, and so this savings from that copier contract is what's going to pay for that software system.
And can we say too, now Mayor Derby is also saying, oh, hey, so this programming that you have, maybe we could realign and actually save the school department and the city money by like these types of things. So the partnership, the collaboration, the ambition to like create great things, you don't need to be swimming in money to make excellent impacts in education.
You do need to be willing to make some small strategic investments.
Exactly right.
So that you can leverage the staff that you do have and free them up from, instead of managing 700 spreadsheets, to come up with a static budget book that nobody read. Right? To then create a document that is hopefully more legible, more readable, more engaging. Right? And do it like, 3 days? Right? Of work it took me to put together that budget work. It took me the whole first month I was here last year to put together last year's budget book. Right?
And I think that's awesome. And the budget book is a really good example, actually, of like smart investments in the right places. I will say, though, like as far as personnel goes, we've been trying to find a way to hire another custodian for several years now. And I just want to put it out there in the public that like this is something, if we could add another position. I know we don't talk a whole lot about custodians, but we really would benefit from figuring out a way to better manage that workload, and they've been asking for another person for a very, very long time now. So that's just one thing I want to keep in mind.
Things like that are helpful for us, as we think about the subsequent year. I mean, I think about, there's a couple areas that we really need to focus on maybe some very strategic hiring.
Yeah, so that was just like the one,
Yeah.
I've seen it every single year for a while now,
Right.
and I feel bad for them because they don't
They all-
And it
generally
may
get to
be
come in here and
that-
present about what they do, you know?
They may have a creative
Yeah.
solution in sitting down with this new central office leadership and saying, maybe the solution isn't another, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but like, what are the problems? How can we share
Exactly.
resources on the city side? Is there work, groundskeeping, stuff like that?
So I just wanted to highlight that. We've had a hard snow winter. I know they've been
Yeah.
working hard. and,
I think on that point, it's really important that we talk about it now while we have
Yeah.
a relatively new high school and a brand new middle
That's right.
school, elementary school situation. Like if we maintain them now, they're state-of-the-art facilities for a much longer period of time.
That's right.
And we don't end up with a White Brook situation again.
Yeah.
I mean, that we take care of what we have now, we maintain it, and then we can.
But I think we're headed in the right direction, and
Yeah.
the feeling is so different here.
Yeah. You're good?
I'm good.
Megan?
I will try not to repeat what other people have said because all of it is great points, and I'm just so appreciative of how the process went and the way my note to myself here is like I'm really proud of this budget to put forward, but I also feel a little bit like, I mean, we worked on it, but you all have worked. It feels more like a huge privilege to get to watch your brains figure this out and
Does it feel like the first year I didn't have to work?
Thank you for thanking us, but
yeah, we didn't do anything this year.
It's so cool to be a part of it and to ride your coattails and see what you're doing on this. I did have a couple of questions that I think we answered in subcommittee, but I just wanted to make sure that we answered them here so that everyone heard it. My two big questions are, can you speak a little bit more to the decision to change from 4 admin to 3 admin, and whether or not that was a cost-driven decision-making or a strategic best practices type decision?
Yeah, so there's a couple things, right? I talked extensively to Dr. Pasquini-Torchia. What do we really need? And 2 things really stood out. Was we need a way to make Mountain View a more cohesive, you're bringing in 3 different schools into one place. What does that look like and what are the structures? So we had just sort of taken what we had and put it into Mountain View. Right. And is that the most effective way? Really leaning on Jill and even consulting with the principals. What is going to work? Talking to some teachers. And they said, having grade level, kind of, you don't know who's doing what pieces. We have pre-K to 2, we have 3 to 5. And even for kids, it's a little confusing. Who is my principal? And then what does the head of schools, what are the roles and responsibilities for that? So I think, making this shift to a principal makes sense to anybody, right? You're like, oh, this is the person that's in charge of the school. Assistant principals report to the principal, and then looking at what other schools have for numbers and number of administrators. Okay, there is usually some sort of 300 to 1 ratio. So we looked at our numbers. Okay, 300 to 1 means 3 administrators for the school. We haven't clearly articulated what each individual is going to do. But thinking about, we will get we're going to rely on their strengths. I want to talk to them and really find out where they see themselves. They have experience in middle school and elementary. But, we have to build a culture that it is Mountain View School. And we all have to be rowing in the same direction. Their experience of kids is different in elementary and in middle school. But we all need to be sort of having the same sort of set expectations and structures within the school. And then the Dean of Students position is something that I've seen work really well in other districts. It is the person who is responsible for building the school culture, responding to classrooms, building those relationships with staff and students, and then it's consistent expectations for behavior are sort of set by that one person, informed by the administrators, right? They're a team, but when one person sort of gets to know and rolls that information up, it makes things a lot more, it feels more cohesive too. And we have to build some structures. How do we operate? What are the expectations for students? What are our, sort of, what are our values as a school community, and building those with that team? I'm really excited about that.
Thank you. I think that's really helpful to just highlight that it's really that based on best practices and what's going to work for us. The other thing you sort of mentioned all of this, and it's definitely in the budget book, but just one of the things that we've come up against in the past is questions around class sizes. And we're doing some reallocation, creative, strategic reallocation. And my understanding, based on all of our work we've done, is that class sizes really are not changing at any of the levels.
So we had a really big 5th grade class this year, which is going to 6th grade, but we also had a 6th grade class. So we're looking at a reduction in 5th grade for a reallocation. So that's where one of the positions will come. It doesn't necessarily have to be a 5th grade teacher. We're still looking at staffing, but we're looking at class sizes in that 5th grade. So the 4th grade going to 5th grade is smaller. So the class sizes, there will be, our average is 21 to 23. So we're still keeping it, small class sizes, but there's a lot of research around class sizes too. And I know we like small class sizes in Easthampton, but we're also looking at high quality instructional materials. It's the quality of the teaching that yield in those relationships and that sense of belonging that really yields the highest impact, right? It is the quality of the teaching, not necessarily do we want big class sizes? Absolutely not. We're looking at, the pre-K to 2, keeping those really, our class sizes smaller because, little people need a lot more.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I just, again, I hope that there are prior school committee members who have, cycled off of school committee in the past 10 years who are watching and seeing that things that they've advocated for are appearing, this is a shared pride. And one of the ones that I always think back to, Ben, who was really insistent and a great advocate for giving real voice to students. And I just love how much of this middle school rethinking came from what the middle schoolers themselves are saying to you.
The student summit was just incredible. The number of students who said they want to learn about taxes, I can't.
I found that so interesting.
I can't even tell you the number of sticky notes that I plucked off that said taxes on it. And I'm like, it's clearly
hear us talking
conversations
about the
at home
that we're nervous
and
about.
Stressful, right? They want to know what is this thing that my parents are talking about.
Family members. Big part of the curriculum in 5th and 4th grade where they learn about the revolution, they learn about about taxes, and then they hear their parents talk about taxes. So they're like, what's happening?
Yes.
We think that they're just playing Roblox and
and they're like, this is $14.99. I'm like, oh, but no, it's not. There are taxes on top of that, and if it's prepared, there's even more. So
and
kids need to learn about that.
I really want to say, one of the things that happens, right, is we read all the sort of popular culture about the work on teens in particular, and people kind of freak out about telephones and, the use of cell phones and screens and all that stuff. But anecdotally, I have to say, these are some of the biggest issues that come up in teen life. Much bigger than the phone.
Into your 20s.
Yes, and we have to remember that in education is not separate from the development of a human being. We're actually, by putting this in where you're wanting to put it, we are affecting the actual development of a child, of a human being, and how significant that is. To literally be sort of paving a way to reduce social anxieties because you have knowledge is extraordinary. And I mean, as a therapist, I have had to say, look, this is beyond the scope of my practice. I'm not a great educator around finances, but let's pull out a budget and let's try to make your budget to a teen, because they have no concept of how they're going to function in the world. I mean, how many kids don't have access to a checking account, a debit card, have no understanding of these things? And when you give them that knowledge, they have a way forward.
Can I highlight one thing you said? Because this struck me earlier, and I forgot, that I think what you're talking about is that we're equipping these kids, right? But you're touching particularly on hitting this in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade means you're equipping these young people before they can be accountable for it.
Right.
So rather than it becoming fraught with anxiety and shame and confusion and fear, they're gaining the equipment and the knowledge before they can be expected in the society to deliver on it.
Yes.
That changes, like you're saying, that changes how a child develops and experiences the world, their confidence in moving through that world. Yeah.
And like literally their brain changes.
Yeah.
Like knowledge and the plasticity of the brain, what we now understand in terms of development, this does transform the possibility.
It'll make their 20s a lot less rocky.
I do have a question about that though. I know several people, young people, who, because of how they process, because of their differences or whatever, cannot math. I mean, they just can't math. No, they can't. There are many students, people that I know, have a difficulty adding numbers together. They do not understand concepts of money. I know several people who are special ed, we're in special ed or whatever. How will this be adapted to deal with the students who do have difficulties in those areas?
Yeah, so actually we're having a planning meeting to talk about these 3 courses. And we invited our BCBA to the meeting because we want her to have a seat at the table. We want to talk about, our students with neurodiverse students and how they engage with the curriculum. So really, we brought in our school adjustment counselor. So embedded in these courses is going to be the MyCap work, which is college and career planning. So we're talking about, we're going to bring the middle school pathways policy back forward, and you'll see these embedded, and that really outlines we care about how students will access. So the part of the planning piece is very intentional, and we will make sure that the right people are in the right room. We're bringing in Ann Talley, our health teacher, to the conversation because they will know how, right? Bring in the experts.
And this isn't new to us either. We do this right now in the life skills program at the high school. We do this kind of instruction.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say, Lori?
I just wanted to also say, so I was on the finance subcommittee, and like Megan had said, I was blown away by just the capacity of both of you to truly educate someone like me who is new on the finance committee. I felt like I could ask any question about the entire budget, and it would be answered. And I would understand it in the context of which it was delivered. That allows for a certain kind of transparency for our community and responsibility and accountability about our money that is really significant. So I thank you both.
Julia is great, right? So I think her educator experience, it really shines, right? She takes every opportunity for a teaching moment. So thank you.
Amazing.
Walter, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, I'm just kind of blown away. It's really crazy, all of the parts, and seeing it come together is great.
Nice.
And this expansion in the middle school is really cool. I mean,
what would you have thought if that was available to you in 6th, 7th, and 8th?
I feel like down the road after these are implemented for a little bit, it's going to change kind of the programming in the high school.
Yeah.
I mean, just because of how much more prepared students are entering high school. And this is something that we work on all the time in our student council and stuff with how are we better preparing people? Like, what can we do to prevent somebody from not knowing something when they get there so that we don't have to react to fix something? And like, I think this is doing a really great job at that.
Well said.
Thank you, Walter.
Anyone
Thank you
else?
to the mayor for
Yes.
echoing that again.
Who is slogging through a rules and regulations meeting downstairs. Yes.
But who knows the ins and outs of all of this.
That's right, and was engaged from the beginning, attended every finance committee meeting, was very supportive, asked a lot of questions, has the utmost respect for our team, as do we. And it just, you can feel, it's like, you can feel it coming together. And and I know that it's exciting for the two of you, but as like the old dog that's been here since the beginning of time, I didn't think we'd ever be here. I didn't think this was possible for us, and it's really incredible. And I say this as someone whose own kids won't directly benefit. I couldn't be happier. Like, this is, we all plant these trees, even though we're not going to be here to sit under them. This is incredible. It's really great.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay.
I just want to say that this presentation will be posted to the school committee website tomorrow.
Great.
Right, so that people, if they want to go back and look at this presentation, right, can look at this as well as the full budget book.
Because so people should understand the budget book is a separate document that really goes along with this, and then this was a presentation kind of to make it a bit more palatable if you just wanted to cruise through, but that budget book is super readable. There's no fat in the budget book either, just a lot of, it's just a nice narrative that you can understand, and all the data is right there in a way that you can access it.
Very well presented.
Linda.
It was the first time that I read a budget book, and it didn't look so dry that my eyes wanted to bleed while I was...
Just DESI-coded spreadsheets.
You know, and I really do think that Bonnie, and someone spoke about putting it in context.
Yes.
Because money is like here, and we think of money here, and then we think of, well, what are the services we're providing? And having that contextual reference makes all the difference, I think, to most everyone.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So I really appreciate that. I sat here, but this is really interesting, rather than, well, we got this amount of money, and we got this amount of money, and we give this.
It was a good example of like accessible information. Because I feel like we went to Charting the Course this weekend, which is like the school committee orientation, and they were talking about like the sorts of graphs and things that you expect to find in a budget book, and so I was thinking about just like how well chosen the info, like the way that you present the information, and kind of what you chose to present and how.
But it doesn't feel gimmicky.
No, it doesn't.
It's accessible, but it's not gimmicky.
Yeah, no, it was just really well done. So thank you for that.
I think we should be mindful too that this is not the type of meeting that most of our neighbors are having.
Yeah, seriously.
As they're discussing their budgets. My heart goes out to all of those communities that are really, really struggling, that are talking about significant reductions in force and reductions in programming. We are not here to brag or to gloat. We are grateful. There are a number of reasons that led us to be here, and I have a lot of gratitude and appreciation for that. And the only reason we're staying here is because of the people in leadership who are able to guide us there, who can take two things and balance them at once, which is to take your values of your district and an incredibly tight fiscal responsibility. And to marry those two things together to deliver an effective product is incredibly difficult, and I don't think a lot of people can do that. And all the flowers to our leadership team. They're incredible talents, and we're very grateful to have them.
I get you.
Thanks for that flower shout out, Laura.
You're welcome. Bouquets of the Valley on Cottage Street, everybody. That's probably illegal. I just said that. I
And also
abstain.
all of the other flower shops in Easthampton and out.
They're all wonderful. Anybody else have questions, comments? No? Okay.
Excellent.
This was the last item on our agenda.
Is there a chance for public speak?
So what I would say is if anyone joining us would like to share any public comments relevant to the budget, or quite frankly, anything in the district, we'd love to hear from anyone. Don't see anyone in the room. We have a couple of people joining us virtually. Apparently, that budget book was so clear, they don't have any questions at the forefront at the moment.
Give them a minute. I'm hoping some of them will jump in and tell us what they're excited about.
Well, I don't think you're going to manifest that today. Is that a message?
So yes, I'm manifesting it.
Seeing none.
There are other opportunities. You can always email.
Well, this is step one.
This is
so
step
to
one.
be
Yeah,
clear to
you
the
go through.
public. So this is Tonight, we are going to vote before we adjourn tonight, which thank you, because I was just about to adjourn without even voting on this. So tonight, we are going to take a vote on this budget proposal. In the event that it passes, we are going to forward this proposal to the city council, where it will consider this, I'm sorry, it's going to the mayor first, who is then going to take this into consideration along with all other city departments, create the mayor's final budget proposal that they will then bring to city council. So that meeting we expect to be in May. We don't have a date yet, but this is step one for us because we as a city department are the only ones that operate differently with its own elected oversight body.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the budget proposal as presented by Superintendent Walsh and Julia Sari-Franks tonight.
I would love to so move that one.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Bonnie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Let's abstain to be on the safe side.
Abstain, it's gonna pass.
Eric has a member of immediate family who works in our district, so we don't like to, he's not allowed to weigh in on matters that could benefit him financially. Thank you, Eric. All right, so that budget passes. Thank you so much. This is step one out of 4 steps, but we're gonna now shepherd it to the mayor, and the mayor will take it to city council, and we will see how this all shakes out by the end of May. If no one has anything further, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Sam. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Linda. We are gonna roll call out my list, so I don't forget anybody. Bonnie.
Have a great night.
Eric.
Good night.
Megan.
Good night.
Sam.
Good night.
Linda.
Good night.
Good night, Easthampton. We will see you in April.
That was just, Michelle and Julia, really.